Welcome to Hash Speaks Finance. Today, we're going to be looking at Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It's packed with insights, but we're going to focus on 5 key takeaways that can really shift how you think about building wealth. So let's kick things off with a story about a guy named Ronald Reed. Ronald was a janitor. Not exactly Wall Street material, but get this. When he died in 2014, he had $8 million. $8 million in savings. No lottery win, no inheritance, just decades of consistent saving and letting compounding work its magic. Howes uses this to drive home a point that's so important. Your behavior with money often matters more than how smart you are. It's like you can know all the fancy investing strategies, but if you can't control your spending or can't excel at every market dip, that knowledge isn't getting you very far. Financial success isn't some secret code. It's about mastering those soft skills, the habits and mindsets that actually let you grow your wealth over time. So let's unpack the first takeaway, which Housel calls paying the price. Now, he's not talking about the sticker price of a stock, but the volatility that comes with aiming for those juicy returns.
Think of it like this. You want a supercar, you get the thrill, but you also pay a premium for maintenance and insurance. Same with investing. You're not going to grab a Rolex from the store and sprint out the door. You got to pay the price because you see the value. In the stock market, higher returns usually come with a price tag. Volatility. It's the ups and downs of the market swings that make some folks want to run for the hills. Take Netflix, for example. Imagine you invested a decade ago. You'd be sitting pretty now, right? But could you have handled the ride? In 2011, Netflix lost a bunch of customers and their stock plummeted 80% from its highs. That's like watching your portfolio go on a terrifying roller coaster. Would you have had the guts to hold on believing in Netflix's future? Or would you have bailed and missed out on those massive gains? That's the price you pay for being in the game now. Netflix is a wild example, but even the S&P 500, a basket of solid companies, has its dips. Since 1980, there have been stretches where it dropped 20% or more. We're talking years in total. And get this, it was down a crazy 50% for about 8 months. Volatility is part of the deal. The takeaway here:
investing in the stock market is awesome for building wealth, but it's not a smooth ride. You gotta be ready for bumps. Understand that volatility is like the entry fee to the long-term growth party. All right, now let's talk about something we can probably all relate to: the feeling of never enough. Housel tells this story about a person who gets a $2 million bonus. They're ecstatic until they hear the person next to them got $2 million and $1. Suddenly, $2 million feels kind of lame. This perfectly captures the human obsession with comparison, especially when it comes to money. Capitalism, while amazing for creating wealth, also feeds this envy monster. Everywhere you look, it's people with bigger houses, fancier cars, more exotic vacations. It's easy to get sucked into that game, constantly chasing more. Picture this: Bill's making $500,000 a year, top 1% living the good life. But then he buys a vacation home and meets Stan, his neighbor. Stan's a CEO pulling in $10 million. Suddenly, Bill's $500,000 doesn't feel so impressive. But wait, there's more. Stan's buddies with Michael Jordan were the cool $2 billion. Now Stan's $10 million looks like pocket change.
And of course, lurking at the top is Jeff Bezos with his $200 billion empire. The point is, there's always someone richer. Chasing that more can lead you down some dark paths. People taking on insane debt, getting caught in risky schemes, even sacrificing relationships just to try and climb that wealth ladder. It's a recipe for disaster. So what's the antidote? Housel nails it with this simple phrase: enough is enough. You got to decide what enough means for you and be content with that. Don't risk what you have and actually need for something you don't even truly want. Don't let envy hijack your financial decisions, because guess what? Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. It's a trap. Now let's shift gears and talk about a concept that are nested. Housel calls crazy is in the eye of the beholder. We often judge other people's money moves thinking, what were they thinking? That's nuts. But the truth is, what seems crazy to one person might make perfect sense to another based on their background and values. Housel is a lottery example. The lowest income households in the US spend over $400 a year on lottery tickets. That's 4 times more than the highest earners.
And get this, over a third of Americans can't even scrape together $400 for an emergency. So they're spending their emergency fund on lottery tickets. But here's the thing. For folks struggling to make ends meet, the lottery is hope. It's their shot at escaping the daily grind and achieving financial freedom. They might lack the education or opportunities to build wealth the traditional way, so the lottery becomes their ticket to a better life. Now, I'm not saying lottery tickets are a good investment. I mean, come on. But it highlights the importance of understanding where people are coming from. Their crazy might be perfectly rational given their situation. So how does this apply to you as an investor? Well, it's a reminder to not blindly copy other people's strategies, especially if they don't fit your goals and risk tolerance. Just because a billionaire invests a certain way doesn't mean it's right for you. This also brings up the idea of your circle of competence. Think of it like this. You wouldn't perform brain surgery if you weren't a neurosurgeon, right? Same goes for investing. Stick to what you understand. Remember the whole GameStop thing? Lots of people got caught up in the hype without understanding the risks, and many lost big time. The lesson here: there's no one-size-fits-all approach to investing. Do your research, figure out what makes sense for you, and stick to your strengths. All right, ready for takeaway number 4. This one's a bit of a mind bender. Housel calls it peekaboo. Think about major world events: the Great Depression, World War II, the 2008 financial crisis, even the COVID pandemic. They all shook things up, especially in the financial world. But they were practically impossible to predict beforehand. These are what Nassim Taleb, author of The Black Swan, calls black swan events. They're those crazy outliers that are so rare and unpredictable they defy our attempts to see them coming. They hit hard, make us question everything, and we only explain them after they happen. Our brains try to make sense of chaos. We look for patterns, connect the dots, and create stories that make it seem like, oh yeah, that was bound to happen. But black swan events are by definition unpredictable. Imagine you were an investor back in 1987 when the stock market lost almost 25% in a single day. That's Black Monday.
Would you have freaked out and sold everything, or held on tight believing things would bounce back? Here's a thought that'll make you think twice about market timing. If you invested in the S&P 500 20 years ago, but missed just the 4 best performing days, your returns would have been way lower. You'd have gotten 154% instead of 291%. That's a huge difference. It shows how tough it is to perfectly time the market, knowing exactly when to buy and sell to maximize gains. So instead of playing peekaboo with the market, trying to predict those black swan events, shift your focus. What can you do to make your portfolio resilient? Build a strategy that can handle the inevitable bumps in the road. Don't get caught up in short-term noise. Stay focused on the long game. And now, for our final takeaway: the seduction of pessimism. It sounds counterintuitive, but pessimism often seems smarter than optimism. Someone who lays out a detailed doomsday scenario citing all sorts of scary stuff can sound super convincing. On the other hand, someone saying, hey, I think things will keep getting better, can come across as naive even if they're right. Why are we drawn to the negative? Well, it's partly evolution.
Our ancestors who were more attuned to threats were more likely to survive. So we're wired to pay attention to bad news. Plus, setbacks are sudden and dramatic, like a stock market crash. Gradual progress like living standards improving doesn't make for exciting headlines. We crave those emotionally charged stories, and negativity tends to deliver. So how does this play out for investors? Be wary of the negativity bias, especially in financial news. Pessimism sells. Don't let those doom and gloom predictions cloud your judgment. Remember, the world is often better than we think. Remember that never enough feeling we talked about. It's like a sneaky gremlin in our brains constantly whispering, you need more, more, more. It's tough to escape, especially in this age of social media, where everyone's showcasing their seemingly perfect lives. But here's the thing. True happiness doesn't come from keeping up with the Joneses. It comes from appreciating what you have, finding joy in the present moment, and prioritizing the things that truly matter.
Your relationships, your health, your passions. It's cool to have financial goals, to want to improve your situation, but don't let those goals turn into an obsession. Don't sacrifice your well-being or your values chasing wealth. Remember what Housel said: spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money.
It's so true. We get caught up in impressing others, buying stuff we don't need, to project an image we might not even have. That's a recipe for financial disaster. Instead, focus on building wealth in a way that aligns with your values, that fuels a life of purpose and meaning. Don't measure your success by comparing yourself to others. Measure it by how much you're able to give back, how much positive impact you can make on the world. That's where real fulfillment lies. Now let's circle back to that crazy is in the eye of the beholder idea. Remember those folks buying lottery tickets? Again, I'm not saying lottery tickets are a sound investment stream. The odds are well not in your favor. But the point is, we need to understand the why behind people's choices, even the ones that seem totally bonkers to us. Everyone carries their own story experiences that shape how they see the world. What looks crazy to you might make perfect sense to someone else, given their unique circumstances. So let's ditch the judgment and embrace a little empathy, shall we? How does this apply to investing? It's a call for humility. We don't have all the answers. Just because someone's doing things differently doesn't mean they're wrong. They might have knowledge or insights we're missing. It's also a reminder to stay open-minded, to consider different perspectives and approaches. The world of investing is vast and complex, and there are multiple roads to success. What works for one person might not work for another. Instead of judging other people's investment choices, let's try to understand their reasoning. Let's be curious, ask questions, and learn from each other's experiences. You never know, you might discover a new strategy or insight that you could apply to your own portfolio. Now, this brings us to the importance of staying within your circle of competence.
It's like knowing your strengths and sticking to them. We all have areas where we have more knowledge and expertise and areas where we're kind of clueless. And when it comes to investing, knowing those boundaries is crucial. It's tempting to chase the latest hot stock or investment trend, especially when you see others making bank. But if you don't truly understand the fundamentals of that investment, if it's outside your area of expertise, you're not investing, you're gambling. Remember the GameStop saga. People fueled by social media hype and FOMO jumped into that frenzy without really knowing what they were getting into. And a lot of them lost a lot of money. Ouch. The smart move. Stick to what you know. Invest in companies or industries you understand where you can do your research and make informed decisions based on solid facts, not hype. Don't be afraid to say no to investments outside your circle of competence, even if everyone else seems to be making a killing. Sometimes the best investments are the ones you don't make. Okay, let's revisit those peekaboo moments we talked about earlier. The Black Swan events. We covered the Great Depression, World War II, the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID pandemic. These are just a few examples of those unpredictable high-impact events that blindside us and rock our world. And here's the thing, they're not just historical blips. They're a recurring pattern in our complex, interconnected world. And we can be sure there will be more Black Swan events in the future. The question isn't if they'll happen, it's when and what they'll look like. So how do we prepare for the unpredictable? Well, step one is accepting that we can't predict everything. We can't control the future no matter how much research we do or how many experts we consult. There will always be those curveballs that catch us off guard. But that doesn't mean we throw in the towel and say whatever happens, happens. It means we need to shift our focus. Instead of trying to predict the future, let's focus on building resilience, on making ourselves mentally and financially strong enough to weather those storms when they inevitably hit. So how do we do that? It starts with a rock-solid financial foundation. That means having an emergency fund to cover unexpected expenses, paying down that nasty high-interest debt, and investing for the long haul in a diversified portfolio that matches your risk tolerance and goals. But it also means cultivating a resilient mindset, one that can handle setbacks and adapt to change.
It's about learning to control your emotions, to not make impulsive decisions based on fear or greed. It's about having a long-term perspective, remembering that the market goes up and down, and those short-term swings are just part of the journey. Don't waste your energy trying to predict the next black swan. You'll probably be wrong, and you'll just stress yourself out in the process. Instead, build a solid foundation and a resilient mindset so you're ready to handle whatever the future throws at you. All right, let's tackle our final takeaway for today. The seduction of pessimism. It's weird, but pessimism often sounds more intelligent than optimism. Those who paint the bleakest picture, citing all the things that could go wrong, can seem like they have the inside scoop. But here's the catch. Pessimism can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're always focused on the negative uses, you'll likely miss out on opportunities right in front of you. You'll make decisions based on fear, not logic and reason. And that's no way to build wealth or live a fulfilling life. Here's another thought. Despite all the challenges we face, the world's actually getting better in many ways. Life expectancy is up. Poverty's down. Technology's advancing like crazy. Now, I'm not saying we should ignore the world's problems. We need to be aware of them and work towards solutions. But we also need balance. We need to acknowledge the progress, the positive changes happening around us. Progress is often slow and steady. It doesn't always make for flashy headlines, but it's happening. So how do we resist the siren song of pessimism? First, pay attention to your information sources. Are you drowning in negativity? Are you getting your news from sources that specialize in doom and gloom predictions? If so, it might be time to diversify your media diet, to seek out sources that offer a more balanced, even, dare I say, optimistic perspective. Second, make a conscious effort to focus on the good stuff. Practice gratitude for the things you have. Celebrate those small victories, no matter how small. Surround yourself with positive, supportive people. Their energy is contagious. And finally, remember this. You have the power to choose your mindset. You can dwell on the negative, or you can choose to focus on the positive. It's your choice. Which path will you choose? That wraps up part 2 of our exploration of the psychology of money.
In part 3, we'll bring it all together, giving you actionable steps you can take to boost your financial well-being and live a richer, more fulfilling life. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Hash Speaks Finance. We've been unpacking Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money, exploring those fascinating mental quirks that can either help us build wealth or, sabotage our financial lives. All right, we've got 5 powerful takeaways locked and loaded. Now let's talk about what we can do with them. How do we take this knowledge and turn it into action? How do we translate it into real-world financial success? Well, here are a few ideas to get you started. First, get crystal clear on your financial goals. What are you working towards? Retirement, a down payment on a house, your dream vacation, early financial freedom.
Once you know your destination, it's much easier to map out the route and make smart decisions along the way. Next, create a budget. I know budgets sound boring, but trust me, they're your financial roadmap. They help you track where your money's going so you can identify areas to cut back and free up more cash to invest. You don't have to go crazy with spreadsheets and complex formulas. Just a simple system to track your income and expenses will do wonders. Third, start investing early and often. Time is your greatest ally when it comes to building wealth. The sooner you start, the more time you have for that magical compounding effect to work its magic. Even small amounts invested consistently over time can grow into something significant. It's like planting a seed and watching it blossom into a mighty oak tree. Fourth, diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your money across different asset classes like stocks, bonds, real estate, maybe even a sprinkle of alternative investments. This helps reduce risk and increase your potential for long-term growth. It's like building a financial safety net, ensuring that if one area stumbles, you've got others to cushion the fall. Fifth, stay informed but don't get lost in the noise. The financial world is a constant barrage of information and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Focus on learning the fundamentals, developing a solid investment strategy, and tuning out the hype. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. Sixth, if you're feeling lost or confused, don't hesitate to seek professional advice. A good financial advisor can be a valuable guide helping you create a personalized plan, navigate complex decisions, and stay on track to achieve your goals. It's like having a financial coach in your corner cheering you on and helping you avoid those costly fumbles. And finally, remember that financial success is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps in the road. There will be times when you make mistakes. That's okay. It's all part of the learning process. The key is to stay disciplined and learn from those mistakes and keep moving forward. So there you have it, folks.
5 powerful takeaways from Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money, plus a roadmap to turn that knowledge into action. It's time to take control of your finances, start building real wealth, and create a life of true financial freedom. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the world of finance, to learn, grow, and make your money work smarter, be sure to check out our other videos right here on Speaks Finance. We break down complex financial topics in a way that's easy to understand, actionable, and maybe even a little bit fun. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on all things finance. We're in this together, folks. Let's make those money dreams a reality. Thanks for tuning in.